This video is a reteach for set builder notation. It's the notation people tend to have more trouble with developing, but once you get used to it, it comes pretty easily. I want to go over, really there's three kinds of graphs that you will run into for this. The first is you will have one that just points. You have an open dot and one, it just points one direction. When you have this, you're going to make an X here, and you're going to say that X is always going to be smaller than whatever this point is. Let's call it 2. And so in this case, X will always be less than 2. The open dot here means that it's not included, that the point at 2 is not included. But everything up to 2 is included. There's infinitely many points right next to 2, and all of those are included, but 2 is not. Now to write set builder notation, we use the set braces, and they look like this. They're a little kind of curly ones. And then we started off with whatever variable we're defining. And what we're saying is the set of X, and there'll be a line. That line stands for such that X is less than 2. So really what we're looking at is, this will say something like the set of X such that, and then you're including your rule. This is really what you're trying to write. You're trying to tell the reader that I'm going to define the set of X, and this is how I'm going to define it. This is my rule. Okay. The next graph is one where we're sandwiching the X in. So let's call this -2 and this 5. Now we have the closed dot. The closed dot here stands for the point is included. Okay, and when we have something like this, it works almost like a sandwich. We can put the X between it because X will be somewhere on this line. And we know that X will always be less than, and in this case less than or equal to 5. And X will always be greater than -2. Now, not greater than or equal to. We can look at this also that -2 will always be smaller than X. Okay? But if you just switch it around, you'd have X is greater than -2, which is really how we think of it. So now we're going to say that we're going to define the set of X such that -2 is less than X, which is less than or equal to 5. And then close our braces, and that's our definition. This really is what we will refer to later as the domain, but you can think of it as this is where X will lie. It will be somewhere between -2 and 5. The third type of situation that we come into is one where we have more than one piece of a graph. So in this case, let's say this is at -1 and this is at 2. Okay, now we're going to have two rules because we have actually two different pieces. So here I'm going to say X, and it's going to be X is less than -1 because here's -1, so X could be -2, 3, -4, -5, wherever. Here I'll say 2 is going to be less than X, or X is going to be greater than 2 because X could be 3, 4, 5, 6, and on. Okay,